What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. This is going to be round 4 of RBET5. In this video, we're just going to cover this match here versus JZap. If I remember correctly, during the tournament, this was a pretty long match. Obviously, we're going to kind of go through it quicker than when we were playing it, but I want to just cover this because this is really a tough matchup for zombies. This is Gladiator Beast. Um, so we'll cover this match here, and then in the next video, I'm thinking about maybe just doing a little branch off video and covering specific matchup versus Black Wings because that seems to be popular. Well, obviously Black Wings are probably the best deck right now, and this seems to be a topic that gets messaged to me a lot about how do you play the zombie versus Black Wing matchup. I'm still going to continue the matches here through RBT5 and then Worlds. I think those are probably the two most relevant tournaments as of late. We haven't really had a high level or large premier tournament since um, those two events. So the next video will probably be maybe a Blackwing zombie discussion and a matchup review, and then I'll also just finish the Swiss or sorry the rounds 5 and 6 before the top 8 cut. Um, so we'll go from there. So this is actually a Gladiator Beast matchup. So in the RBET tournaments, you can obviously watch your opponents um, play. That's actually a rule in the tournament. You cannot play a game with a password. Everything has to be open to anyone. So you can essentially scout your opponents, which is no different than you were to be at a regional or at a YCS and walking around the top tables and watching games that way. So I knew that my opponent was on Gladiator Beast, which sometimes having that information is, everyone thinks it's really great, but sometimes it can be a downfall because you play a certain way, knowing that they're playing, Gladiator Beast, you might be setting cards, or maybe they're playing zombies or Lightsworn, and you see a face down card, so you just assume it's this or that. So sometimes the information can be detrimental, but oftentimes it's helpful just having an idea of what they're playing. So we'll get into the match here. Let's see. So I end up losing, which is not good. The rock paper scissors, obviously going first is just infinitely better. Um, JZap, I'm pretty sure is a really good player. I think he's top tournaments before. So, and he's playing Gladiator Beast. So before I continue, Gladiator Beast is one of those decks that I feel is not that great. There are obviously a few players that are like really good with him. I know Yomiro is probably one of the best Gladiator Beast players I know. The deck can sneak into top 8 at some events. I think the general consensus is just not very good, but it's one of those decks that you just never want to play against, like in a tournament, right? You sit down and your opponent's playing Gladiator Beast, you just like this could be an uphill battle. So um, let's get into the turns here. So hand is not terrible, right? It's pretty good. You got a bottomless for anything that most of their Gladiator Beasts can get bottomless. So I don't play the MST here. We set both. This is not bad. You're not, I mean, you assume that they're probably not going to flip a heavy storm and Gladiator Beast. Um, and even if they were to play a heavy from their hand, then it's a 2 for 2, so it's not a huge deal. But he flips a Pro Storm, which was just brutal here. There's actually a really good play on his part. I was not expecting a Heavy Storm in Gladiator Beast. I know that there are some decks that play it. A lot of the decks just play Cold Wave, which is, you just gain so much more advantage because you can just Geyserus and just pick away at back rows. Because oftentimes Gladiator Beasts have, 4 or 5 back row. I'm not saying that they never play it. I'm just not something that I was expected to have set first turn, so I get punished here really bad. At this point, if the bottomless gets killed, I'm not doing well anyway. So he had a +1 off the heavy, now a +1 off Strato. So I'm just sitting here. I have 4 cards. They got 7, 8. So I'm just in a pickle here. So you can make the argument to go for Illblood here, which is pretty good against the deck because it hits over every single monster in the deck and it ties with the 2100 Laquari. I figured at this point it's probably the best bet where I'm going to see a Caius hit the board without a War Chariot. So that was my thought process here. And then I draw the Ill Blood, so that's just really bad. This card sticks in your hand sometimes. So this doesn't feel great, right? You're bottom or banishing a Stratos that's just already got a +1. Um, but we get a search here, so this right here probably is Zombie Master. It's the only card that makes sense. Yep, can pitch every card in our hand. We don't really care about them. Zombie Master is actually pretty good in this matchup because, again, ties Laquaris that are not boosted and kills everything else. So it's you can just use it as a beat 6, not bad. Still, at this point, no traps, no spells. You can't stop any plays. Um, Gladiator Beast, the match really feels like it's decided probably by turn 2, right? It's one of those games where if you can stop a couple of their first monsters, and you gain some tempo, you can really kind of run away with it. And with the Gladiator Beast player themselves, if they can get 1 or 2 attacks through and have 3 or 4 back row, it's hard for them to lose a game. I think that's one of the reasons why people just don't really like to play against the Gladiator Beast matchup, because it's one of those things where it can just really go either way, and it's really just an uphill battle after a couple turns in. So at this point, we have a couple zombies in the graveyard, a couple dogs. He gets a free attack, so we're gonna, obviously, Rd-4 is probably hitting the board here and banishing something. Yep. So that's pretty telling, right? If Rd-4 hits the board here, probably has some type of battle trap to save it. And this is just where things are getting out of hand here. Now the monster, which is it's not good here. Um, so this is like the best play because obviously you crash and can summon a guy. Problem is, what's the odds that this is happening into 3 back row? The other alternative is you set it and they attack it and then they just Murmillo it. So you kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't here. I think the best play is just attack and pray that they don't have something, and that's that. At this point, they summon another Glad, so you can get Retiari'd again. I think it's pretty clear where this is going. Trying to beta Gores here, it's not going to matter. You're attacking 100% of the time because, honestly, Gores is okay against Glads, but Tragodia is just awful. If you can side that out, you might as well, because they just attack with like a Laquari, you drop Trag, then they just tag out into Murmillo. I guess you'd rather them have a Murmillo on the board, but still, just doesn't really get you anywhere. And then we're going into Retiari again, I'm guessing. Yeah, so that's that. Could make the argument there to just banish the Caius, put me even like less of a chance of Dark Arm because I still have a turtle in the graveyard, but I don't think it's gonna matter much here. So we got a Book of Moon. That's reassuring. Oh. So here you have to watch out because if you summon Zombie Master and try to do a pitch a Mizuki or pitch a Plague into Pyramid Turtle, if they have War Chariot, you die. Um, so I pass Prio here because you just lose instantly if they flip the War Chariot. And Bottomless kills you too, so. Yeah, so that's game. Not much you can do there. Even with the heavy face down, sure, I would have had a bottomless still or an MST. I guess things would have been a little bit better, but you need to see a couple pieces of monster removal against Gladiator B, especially if they're just summoning guy after guy. So we go into sideboard. So at this point, I'm side decking in double Smashing Ground. I have double Vortex inside the sideboard. I have double Sirocco, double Cyber Dragon. So a lot of those big beaters are going in. And just taking out dead cards against this Glad deck. Spirit Reaper, if you're playing zombies, that card should not be in your deck post board at all because they just feast on that. Um, so hand is we have some monster removal here. It's not the greatest, or at least we have a Diva mind control play here. So um, we just set everything here. You have Solemn, you have it in. You pretty much should have set everything. Another reason why Glads is a tough matchup because you have to play kind of like awkward or differently. You just because normally you don't really want to have to set a Solemn Judgment anytime early in the game like that because you're forced to play it if they activate a heavy or something. So like against a normal deck, you might just set MST and say go. You might just set D prison and say go. Keep everything else in your hand. But against Glads, if they MST the D prison and then they attack and then they end up bringing out a bestiary and pop it back, you're just down too far. Um, so you can make the argument of not deprisoning here because most really good Gladiator Police players are not going to tag into a bestiary with 3 back row. Unlikely. So then you could maybe bait the. They'd probably just bring out a Laquari or something like that. So you don't absolutely have to deprison that, but doing that's fine too, just not to let them tag out. So now we have a Sirocco. Still, we could allure here if we wanted, which we do. So this is good. Sirocco levels up into a Cyber Dragon. That's fine. And we got another D prison, so and which I side decked in. Again, you can make the argument not to D prison this. Um, he's not a bad one to get rid of because of the fact that they can loop War Chariot. Now we have the end phase MST. We drew a Dust and we have a Solemn set. So again, if I didn't deprison one of these guys, maybe he would have just tagged out until Aquarius, and we could have done like a Cyber Dragon Mind Control Diva play. Again, not wrong, just how you want to play. This guy would have been probably better to hit with a D prison, that way he doesn't destroy your graveyard. But also remember game 2 and 3, the way I side deck. I don't know if you watched the side deck video. If you haven't, check it out. I can see if I can link it. I don't really care if they pick apart the graveyard as much because I side decked all the Book of Lives out, all of that stuff. So this card really doesn't matter as much game 2. Of course, there's still some graveyard interaction with the deck. That's just zombies in general. You really can't get everything out, but so we have to take this attack here. So at this point, I'm thinking it's unlikely. Again, we haven't played a bottomless yet. A lot of the really good Glad players are just not going to bring Bestiary out right now. If you bottomless that card and they don't have a shrink or a book, the game's probably over. So I'm guessing I'm probably not going to do this. That's why I don't Solemn. So, right, just brings out Laquari, which is fine. You know, we have play here. We have a Dust if they set something. Now we have a bottomless, which is like so turn after turn we draw a double D prison and a bottomless. So this is like how you really need to be able to beat. You need these cards to be able to beat Glads. Um, so I hold the Cyber Dragon here because of the fact that there's no back row, and essentially we can guarantee a Diva play here with there being no War Chariot. So let's see what happens here. I don't remember. So this is awkward because a Gores drops. I think some of the decks main deck Gores. Maybe he side decked it in. I don't know. It's not a card that you always see. It's kind of like the Heavy Storm. It's one of those where you don't always see it. So I guess it was really good on his part having those cards in there because you just don't play as if they have it. Um, so this kind of like spoils what I wanted to do here because I kind of wanted to like get the 2600 in and then ladder up into a Stardust because Stardust just beats that deck. They can't do anything with it. If you get Stardust on the board, you just don't attack with it. You keep it on there and then just attack with everything else because you don't want to run into a D prison. So this is not ideal. So I have to make Colossal Fight as the only guy big enough to out the Gores. But we're okay. We got a Solemn still. We got the Bottomless. We got a Dust. We're sitting in a really good position here. Just clicking away. Sets a monster. Oh, so I draw Dark Arm. I don't think I'm anywhere near. No darks. Um, so at this point here, let's see. We get into main phase. So you can make the argument here that we can attack the face down. We don't know what it is. Some of them play Morphing Jar. Um, some of them are trying to maybe set up a bestiary play, which you don't really care if they like next turn try to Geysers or something because you have the Solemn for it, which is a +1 essentially. Biggest threat on the board right now is Gores, so you can either attack the Gores or you attack the face down. The problem is if you don't kill the Gores and they have a smash or something, you're in trouble. So I felt just getting rid of the Gores while I had the chance was because my hand literally can't out it. So that's what we do there. Let's see what happens here. I don't really remember. So this token's big too. That's a 2600 token. So that's another guy. Okay, so he's going into the Geyser's play, which again we don't care. We have the Solemn, which you have to windmill slam. There you go. So right now we're sitting. They got 3 cards and a 2600 token. We're sitting at 5 cards and a draw. We're going up to 6. We can out the token. We're sitting in a pretty good position here. It's a Gale. This card is really. If you watch any other videos, this card is just so good. More people should be playing this. If you're playing zombies, you gotta play this card. This card right here literally outs every Gladiator Beast monster in the deck. It's essentially a smashing ground, a fissure. It's anything. Just running over the token here. Not wasting a bottomless on that ever. Don't care. Let's see here. So we have the dust in the end phase. Let's get rid of everything. Okay, good. So let's see here. We drew another bottomless. So we got double bottomless, double D prison. We've had a solemn, a dust. So this is what it takes to beat this deck. So you can make the argument not to summon that there, but I have a bottomless set already. He's already used an MST, so the only card that he could have is a heavy. Probably don't need to summon that. Just trying to keep pressure. So this right here, now looking at that, there's no need to set this bottomless. This is actually bad on my part. I'm not sure why I did that because heavy destroys me right now, and I already had a bottomless set. So I'm not sure that's not good Yu-Gi-Oh at all. You know, if I see mistakes, I'll definitely point them out. That's the whole point of this video or these video series. So in that situation, keeping the bottomless in your hand is far more ideal. And I think one of the reasons why I summon the Gale there is, like I said, just to put more damage on the board. You don't have to do that. Could just play it really slow with a Colossal Fighter. That would have been fine too. Let's see. So fortunately, we don't get punished for the bad play here. Um, so this card here I have set for multiple turns. Um, so you can make the argument to either flip the old one, and the opponent won't know or have an idea what the new one is, or you can flip the new one and they still don't know what the old one is. Either or is fine. Um, So we draw a Smash, which we side deck in. Card's just really good because typically that would be a Book of Life, and Book of Life is not doing anything in this situation, especially against that deck if they are like Retiaring all your monsters away. So this kind of shows the reason why I may be winning game 2s and 3s while the way I was side decking. So um, we're not going to risk Mirror Force here. Just going to attack for game, see if it goes through. It's going to go through. Dust Shoot's dead. So game 2, we pretty much drew every answer we could have wanted. Game 1, we had no spell or no traps, and game 2, we had pretty much every trap. So game 3, let's see how this goes down. This hand is awful. We do have some trap removal or monster removal here, but we don't even have a playable card here against Gladiator Beast. And they get the Stratos turn 1, so we're in trouble. And we drew another Book of Moon. So this hand is awful. Um, if we could have maybe had just a playable monster here or something, it would have been a little bit better. And we have D Prison, Lightning Vortex. So this is a -1. You're never going to Vortex a Stratos. D Prison, you don't want to D Prison Stratos because this card, it's already generated advantage. So I'm going to just have to play it slow here. Hope to draw into something. I'm guessing we're just going to eat that. Yep. And we drew a Smash Ground. Another card you don't want to play into Stratos, right? So this hand is like perfect, or not perfect, but much better if this is like a Laquari, because you just smash it or you just deprison it. You just don't want to waste any cards on the Stratos because it's, I've discussed before, +1, -1. I just can't
play cards if I'm going to lose advantage. At some point, you don't have a choice, and that's the whole point of if he doesn't summon another monster here and just beats with Stratos, we're going to have no choice but to activate a Smashing Ground or a book or something. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's a good player. He knows that. He doesn't care if the Stratos gets removed. So we just keep eating damage because we're not going to waste a card either. We draw a Trag. Like I said, this card's not very good. Unfortunately, I had no other cards. I didn't have a better option in the side deck. I side decked pretty much everything else I could that would be really bad against them. Um, so again, now we're taking too much damage here because we're at 4,400. So at this point, if we don't out the Stratos and they heavy and summon another guy, there's a chance we just die. So it hurts to do that. We don't have a choice. All right, so we have some cards here. We can play a bit. So Cyber Dragon here. I'm guessing I probably go into a Caius just because this is the safest Caius in terms of no War Chariot available. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so I actually book here because I have defense to keep him alive, and I don't have another playable monster. Um, the argument is you didn't have to sack there. You could have just attacked the monster. It would have went through because he didn't bottomless. But I have to actually book here because I don't have another playable monster, and I can actually keep it alive as long as there's no heavy. So it's not a terrible trade. Just look how many more cards. 7, 8 cards to my 6. Um, this is just, and he went first, of course, so he had the +1 there. But we're not in a good situation. Just clicking through here. Let's see what happens next. So there's a True Nade. Might as well have been a heavy. I guess it's a little bit better, but now obviously my Caius is just going to get picked apart. Test dagger play here. So I'm trying to figure out. I don't know if he runs Secutor or not. He doesn't. Okay, so this is going to search a War Chariot. Yeah, we're in a bad position here. So that's good. We drew a heavy. Um, so now you have to worry about Starlight Road, but at this point, you, you don't really have a choice, right? In some of these times, like you're behind. You have no monsters. You're down on life. They have a War Chariot. They have 2100 Laquari. So I think you just Windmill Slam. Yep, heavy. If they have it, they have it, and they don't. Um, so that's a +1. I'm trying to crawl back in here. I'm setting 2 because they have heavy. They have heavy. I'm just going to lose the game, but at least I can deprison the attack and bottomless another summon. Sometimes you just got to play, and if they have it, then was it meant to be? Let's see. Um, so you can make the argument to just deprison this, which we do. 2100 is what, almost half our life, so just still drawing awful here. I think Vortex could have been a Book of Life or something. I think I took out, like I said, most of the Book of Lives or Call, so um, still wouldn't have mattered, wouldn't have helped us. So after that last turn, he didn't summon another monster or play another monster. It starts tipping, giving me a little bit of a hint here, or tip that maybe his hand's not that strong. I know he had a War Chariot and he searched for it, but he hasn't played another monster. And sometimes that happens with that deck. Like you draw one monster and 4 or 5 spell and trap, and then you just don't see another monster for a few turns because the monster count's pretty low. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so no monster still, or he's baiting me into playing one. We have a playable card now, Diva into Mind Control, which is good. I don't think we're doing anything here. We're just going to pass. So we could bottomless this, or we don't, and we keep it for the Diva Mind Control play, which, let's see what we do. Either is fine. I do let that happen here. Also, letting this happen. If he does decide to go into bestiary, we have the bottomless for it, so that kind of takes off a little bit of pressure. So this is kind of a win-win for us. We let the monster stay. We can mind control Diva, and we don't run the risk of getting War Chariot. We can also drop Trag here too. That gives us an option to do that, which we do. So now he has to go into. Well, he can't go into Marmilla because we banished it. So this is going to live. Oh, but he has another War Chariot. Okay, so two War Chariots. So I'm guessing he's going to tag into a quest at this point because he can get the War Chariot back. We do not bottomless this because he needs to have a face-up Gladiator Beast to War Chariot. So this is fine by us. Don't care. Prefer it would have been much better for us if he just like bestiaried or something and we would bottomless that. But so we know one of those is a War Chariot. It's pretty obvious. Um, so we're sitting on two darks. Um, he's got a War Chariot there. So we're gonna make a play here. Hits us with a torrential. So that's no fun. So again, 5, 6 cards, while 4 we're just Gladiator Beasts are just kind of generating the advantage. Where we have a poor hand, we're playing awkwardly. We had the Smashing Ground, a Stratos. So we have the bottomless here. Just trying to. So we know he has a War Chariot face down. He did think about it for a second, so now the question is if does he have a Book of Moon? Does he have a Shrink? We drew another bottomless. That was probably a perfect time because now we can kind of play around with the Goblin Zombie. Um, so in this situation here, we don't really have a choice because we even if he kills us, we can't drop the Dark Arm. Well, we can drop Dark Arm, but we never can use its effects because we know he has a War Chariot. So this isn't terrible. We get a search here. So let's see where we are here, right? In this situation here, I can almost game. That's a War Chariot. We didn't have to. Well, we had to bounce something because we needed to. Could I guess I could have set my own lightning vortex, but um, I need to just ensure that this is going to go off. But this does play into Gores, so you can argue keeping the War Chariot on the board. Because the reality is, even if I leave War Chariot on the board, I can only do 7,900 damage. It's the most I can do here. So I still can't game anyway. So Gores doesn't. Sure, I do less damage, but it doesn't change the fact that I just still can't win this turn. So this is a prime example of I went all out without being able to win the game here. So if they have like any out, brain control, anything like that, I just lose. But I'm at 2,800. I'm down a bunch of cards. I had an opportunity to do this here, and this is the decision I made. And it's kind of one of those things where if you have the out, you have the out, and that's it. I lose. So he does have the Gores. So at this point, we're just gonna kill the token. So again, leaving the War Chariot on the board, I guess it would have been ideal as long as it was the War Chariot, which we're making a read that it was because I could have had him at 100, so they can't brain control. Watching this now, that would have been a better play, but then you run the risk if it's not the War Chariot for whatever reason, you could run into a Mirror Force or something. So Smashing Ground is not going to out the Dark Arm. It's going to hit the Yugioh. So at this point, once this all happened, I knew that I probably had this game wrapped up. He did not have an out for the Dark Arm. and we have both Dark Arm and Brio, so we can bounce and destroy anything we want. And we ended up winning this game and probably had no business doing it. We drew poorly. They had a lot of pressure on us, but it looks like they kind of um, leveled off themselves in the middle of the game there and kind of started drawing some dead cards. So there's a couple things, as you can see, we talked about here that we could have done differently. Maybe we could have left the War Chariot on board. Um, and put him at 100, which would have definitely been safe for brain control. I'm not sure if they played brain control, but I didn't think he played heavy or gores, so who knows. Um, and obviously, that's not ideal, dropping your whole hand and board and doing everything you can and not be able to kill somebody. But in this situation, it worked out. Um, Anybody watching this game can just tell that I was down big and didn't have much of a chance of really winning this game. I was lucky enough to win because of this big push, so it worked out in my favor this time. And like you saw, game one, I drew no traps, and that's just what it is. Sometimes you just can't out any of the monsters. Game two, I drew pretty much every trap I had on the deck, and I side decked in a bunch of deep prisons and stuff. And game three, I drew pretty poorly, but sometimes just drawing bad like that, it ends up having a way of playing out like it did. And I was lucky enough to get this game here. So there's definitely a few areas that I pointed out where I should have set the double bottomless. I talked about that. That was poor. And rewatching some of these games, again, nobody plays perfect. I don't care who it is. There's always things that they wish they did differently. Again, there's a lot of pressure on the line. You're playing against a deck. I don't play much Gladiator Beast. It's not a very common deck. And and also you have to play awkwardly. So nervous sometimes. You're setting cards. You don't want to die, and causes you to play a little bit differently. But obviously, there's a few plays that were definitely bad on my part, and that's I'm human, and just because I top events doesn't mean I'm the best player to ever play the game. But I think that you can just watching this replay is insightful, and hopefully you learn a thing or two. So next video coming out probably Saturday. I usually post 2 days a week. If I can't get a good Blackwing video done, I will just do rounds 5 and 6 of this RBET, and then we'll make into the top 8 cut. But I do think that discussing the Blackwing matchup is probably pretty important because that has it's can be tough at times, especially with the Icarus attack and all that. So if you have any questions, just give me a comment or message me on Discord or Dueling Book. Again, when we hit 100 subscribers, we'll do some streams. I think I'm at 50 exactly, and it's hard to get subscribers. A lot of people watch videos but don't subscribe. So if you feel like you learned something here or may learn something in the future, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.